All right, it's 12:01. We'll call this meeting session, so welcome. Thank you everyone for being here. Is anyone on Zoom or anything like that today? Do we have an agenda? Yeah. All right, committee description.
So you have in front of you, and you can bring it up as well. I have extra copies here. But basically, yeah, thank you. I think, you know what, I went back and I was watching the meeting from January, from the 26th. And you know, this is something we did talk about quite a bit, and you know, and I do believe that there were two items, you know, that you all wanted to kind of see potentially incorporated into the committee description. So then you know, you could take this committee description and then bring it to council and just kind of say this is what you were seeing as, you know, as the kind of the outgrowth of the way the committee has operated and how you'd like to see it operate. You know, so the area that's highlighted is what was added, you know, based on my notes and going back and listening to the January 26th meeting. And I can take this out.
I like this a lot.
So, yeah, so basically it's trying to incorporate that there was and there might need to be a little bit more definition of it, you all can tell me, but the committee focuses both on community development and economic development issues concerning these commercial areas. So it's really to draw that distinction between, yes, there are, you know, there are, you know, community events that we promote, there are gathering places that we promote, but we would also look at, you know, the economic development of the area. Well, right. You know, looking at how do we promote, you know, small business growth, entrepreneurial growth in these areas as well. Yeah.
I think it looks really good. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Really, when I look at this, there might only be a couple words that I would tweak just for flow. But, yeah, sure. But for purposes of this meeting, I think the content is spot on with what I think we'd like the committee to, the wider net we'd like to see for the committee. It hits that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you all need to, you know, just let me know what tweaks you want to make. And
I can send that via email to you.
So it looks like we're kind of capturing the main ideas from the 26th. You know, if there's any additional ideas or tweaks, right. You know, if you want to get those to me, or if we want to do that now, we can do that, whatever you all prefer. And then I guess the final question I would have is when would you want to kind of shoot to bring this to council for kind of a larger discussion under committee reports?
I wouldn't really, yeah, for the next agenda, let's start it off in there. I personally feel that it's good the way it is there. I know you said that you wanted to critique it a little bit. Is there something that comes to your mind right now?
I mean, really, I'm just kind of looking at it just from very minor things, and I think we can just do that over email. I'm just thinking things like, you know, just say in addition to instead of while. It's just, I mean, we're talking very minute details at this point. So,
okay. But the main idea.
I think the content is spot on, exactly.
Okay. So yeah, let's go right ahead and add that to the next agenda for town council.
Yeah, I think you did a really good job capturing what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And for that committee discussion, would you just like me to bring this up or have copies of it for them? Would you like anything additional?
No, I think obviously just do the committee description and obviously just cancel the bottom part where the questions are.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I when I'm reading this and after the town council meeting last night, one of the things, I know that the Uptown Mall is here, the Uptown area, but I also, I wonder if that really, I guess what I'm trying to say, you know how we talked about the bridge, and we were talking about the sign, to put on that bridge. That fits in the description, right? We don't have to really itemize what we're gonna be doing in this area. We can just say, hey, these are our areas, therefore, we're able to do anything under those areas as far as that goes, right?
Yeah, I think when you reference Uptown, you're talking about the bridge.
I just wanna make sure that technically somebody cannot, is not gonna come back and say, hey, that's not really in your description. It's saying Uptown, but it's not really saying that you are able to do this.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It says other commercial areas including these.
Right.
These examples.
I think we should be careful, if we start listing a lot of specifics, we're either gonna leave something out that should have been in there, or vice versa, so I think it's better to be general in the way it's written here.
I just don't wanna, make someone upset because of technicality. But okay, if that works, it's good with me, so.
And then I think when there's when it's, when it is an area that kind of overlaps with another committee's, description or mission, such as the bikeway, walkway, in the Huckleberry Trail, we'd want to get, some input from them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it was mentioned last night, the Friends of the Huckleberry as well, for that particular, for any signage as well. I know they're trying to come up with a larger plan for the Huckleberry with uniform signage.
Do you know when the meeting is, the next meeting for them is?
I don't offhand, no.
Okay. Well, we can look it up, and maybe it would be good for us to even bring this up, during that meeting. I don't know, depending on the day, maybe Casey and I can come to, or maybe one of us can come to it, so. To make that happen.
I think it looks good, Andrew.
Webcam options, you were supposed to bring up some prices.
Yeah, so, as far as prices, we would need to just make sure that these are still current, but I think they're good ballpark figures. There's two companies, that we've looked into so far, Verkada and then EarthCam. Verkada seems to be a little bit better, as far as for a 10-year deal, the 10-year cost would be about $5,000, so it makes it a little bit more competitive than the EarthCam, which their fee is $200, which you'd be locked into a 3-year contract.
What is
so
the 7,200?
So that would be the total.
For the 3 years?
The 3 years, right. We do think Verdaka is a better deal. You have a couple of examples here.
You, on the Verdaka thing, or whatever, you say it's a 10-year license. Does that mean that they're providing all the services for 10 years? As far as not just licensing?
Hosting, right.
Hosting and everything. That's, everything is included under that.
Correct.
So what happens after the 10-year mark? Do they come in and take everything with them, or do they?
Well, we would look to.
Do we have any kind of ownership with that?
Well, I believe we are purchasing the camera, for, in Verkada's case, so, so that we would own the camera.
Is that any insurance coverage with that? Do you know?
These are good questions. I need to look into them.
I don't foresee somebody, throwing a rock on it, but, but then,
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, I would imagine the camera does.
And then also, what about if he actually breaks, are they gonna be serviced, and then what the charges are? Because, we don't wanna have the problem that we had the clock, that we didn't it was hard to find someone that could fix it.
Remind me again where this was proposed to be located?
So,
By the 911 building, right?
yeah, so basically, there were a couple different locations. One was at the 911 building, actually, on the building. The
Okay.
logistics, you know, in coordination, you know, with the counties, you know, would be more time consuming. If we were to put it on the pole at the traffic signal at Main Street in South Franklin, you know, we could do something similar to what you have here. This is a very small,
That's not very pretty.
it's a very small town.
Oh, that's not, I was like, where the hell is that at?
Yeah.
But it's not very pretty either. Where in the world is that at?
So that's, it's in Kentucky, it's a small town of
Well, I'm glad. We have better views than that.
We do. We might have to do an ad, I could.
I thought it was by Cambria somewhere. I was like,
Yeah.
how do
So
we?
this is more, this actually is
Yeah,
somewhat
okay.
more similar to us.
This is
But this is on a light pole, I mean, on a traffic signal
Is
light.
this Bloxburg?
No.
No, this is,
It doesn't kind of look like it though.
let me go back.
Yeah.
Belmont, North Carolina. So, I mean, I do think we could accomplish what, let me go to the, hold on here, let me go to the maps real quick. I guess, if you all, we can look into, you know, just confirming the cost, look at insurance coverage, or is it something that could be covered under our general policy as well, if something were to happen? Could do a little bit more,
I'm actually
digging on both
ready
of them.
to move into, as long as we get an answer by email or something, or
Okay.
maybe a phone call regarding the insurance. I'm kind of ready
Ready
to make a decision on this and bring it to council for location and stuff. Can you just give me, that's, like, so where are your locations that you're?
thinking this pool, I'm sorry. Pool here.
So it's facing down,
So it'd be facing
down Main there, right?
down Main.
Okay.
I actually like that. Now, can this be a 360-degree camera? Do they
Sure.
offer that service with this company?
So with the 360 degrees, basically, they provide 360 solutions, but they do require, like, you to upload a browser plugin. You know, it's my understanding, so it limits, we wouldn't be able just to log on like we just did. We would have to have that browser, so it could limit the number of people that access the camera.
What's the amount?
As far as the cost of it, I could look into that.
I would really like that, because you know what? I like the place that you picked out.
Mhm.
To me personally, it's a great place. And if you can make it 365-degree, you can actually have the views of Franklin Street either way. You can have the views off of Main Street, which you have, you know, the town hall, you have the courthouse, you have the police, you have the you know, I mean, so many things right there. The postal office.
I don't mind looking into it, I think if it's gonna be some sort of significant cost difference, I'm not sure we wanna go that route.
But I think it's worth looking into it, Casey.
I mean, yeah, if they're gonna tell us it's
Because
a similar
all
cost,
you're
I'm fine
going
with
to
that.
be doing is looking at that one street all the time.
But it's facing where a lot of the special events will be too, on Main Street, which I kinda like that, that would be a focal point for
Well, not
downtown.
necessarily, like, that's what it happens, but you
Mhm.
see where we put the stage, it's right there, so you're gonna be facing that way, and you're not gonna be able to see any of the events, because now it's gonna be covered. You know what I mean? That's
When there's
typically
a
where
stage,
if
right.
there is a stage.
And we are trying to use different sections of downtown and Main Street, you know, it's
But I'm just saying, if that was the case, we're limiting ourselves to not be able to see anything. If
Right.
that's the point of us having this camera,
yeah.
to be able to visualize events and things like that.
Right.
I think if we think about putting ourselves in the last events that we did in the town, this street right here was very well used.
Mhm.
You know, the one over here by Town Hall
Yeah.
and the courthouse and the police station. I mean, that was like the place to go. There were all these little tents and,
Mhm.
I mean, it was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And,
And Rachel Benson will, special events coordinator will be with us next month, but, you know, I think she will be talking about one of the Rock and Main Street programs that we're looking at doing actually this end of the,
yeah, but I'm just saying, if that was the
Yeah.
case, we
Right.
still don't wanna
If you
limit
did
it.
the- If you did the camera
Because
360.
because then you're gonna be seeing that way still. You're
Mhm.
not gonna be looking at this direction.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. If it's gonna double our cost, then we might wanna rethink about, you know,
I don't
What we're doing.
necessarily think it will double your cost,
I can look
but
into
please
it.
we just gotta look
check
into
into it.
Yeah.
There can be a maintenance issue. That's one thing I've run into before with them. While it's nice to be able to turn around and you get more interaction,
Yeah.
you know, from people, because they're like, hey, let's look at, you know, whatever that is.
Right.
Those things over time can break, so it's worth following up with your question about the warranty.
And I wonder if they'll do, maybe the solution will be have two cameras.
Could be.
One looking this way and the other one looking out the other way, and they'll give us a huge discount, you know, what is to say, you know, they'll give it to us for 20% of the cost, you know? I mean, it's worth looking into it.
Yeah.
Might very well.
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
I know when we put our cameras in our building inside, it was almost about the same cost to add up another additional 3 cameras than there was to buy the one, so, you know. Checking into that, so you're gonna be checking into, obviously.
Yeah, and we'll look at the 360 coverage for both EarthCam and Verdaka, and there may be another vendor that come to IT's attention since then.
So now, because I kind of want to move quickly on this too, and maybe that's just my motion, but, I mean, we're at the end of February, March is around
Yeah.
the corner. Summer and spring are coming. Do you foresee yourself, like I said to you, I'm ready to move on a decision, today as far as like, let's bring it to council. So all we really need to know from you is the cost, as far as like what it will cost and what about insurance and what about, you know, the 2 cameras. But I think it will be good to bring this to even to council, for the next meeting. Do you think it's pushing it too hard?
I think we can just chat via email to figure out what insurance warranty and what the cost difference is, and we can make that decision over email to be such that it's set up.
Because, I mean,
to
the
work
main,
out.
the main answer from you and I, from what I hear from you is, we
Yeah.
do want it.
Yeah, I'm all for it, yeah.
Yeah,
I just
Because,
want it in our
yeah,
heart.
we'll start to finalize the agenda for the 8th, you know, by next Thursday, so a little over a week.
Yeah.
So, we'll do what we can. It may be a little tight to get the information.
Well,
and
and
for,
if
you
it
know, to be able
happens
to,
that we have to wait,
yeah,
for the
We can
next,
shoot for
we
the
can definitely
22nd of
do
March.
that. I think we're in the,
so
right?
best case scenario, we're shooting
Yeah.
for March 8th, you know,
Worst case is
fall back is
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
22nd.
I don't have a problem with that.
sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, let's move on. Do you have anything else that you have under webcam? I think that was
Yeah,
it,
that was
right?
really it, yeah.
Item D, community gathering place.
So these are the conceptual drawings that were done as part of the placemaking plan, which is on our website. And basically what we did receive the $275,000 ARC grant for. We did apply for $500,000 and received, $275,000. So this shows, when the park would be operating, or the farmer's market, any type of market using the arcade here. That's an active market view. You also have a hard copy of the same
Looks different.
drawing here. No, I think it's
You're
the
right,
same.
yeah, you're right, okay.
It would have the two-way circulation
But
through
this
here.
is not being boarded on, that's gonna be the structure, that's gonna be the design.
No, the
And
the
so-
design needs to be designed.
So,
Yeah,
exactly, so right now, I know that one of the things that was spoken, we're not gonna close the street. Now, the thing that was discussed in the past was, how do we make it where it's still a drive-through area, and then for setups for, for farmers markets and
Right.
things like that in the past. What's that going to look like?
Yeah.
Now, I guess one of my biggest questions for you, Andrew, is, what about those restrooms? Do you find out if they're actually, the building, the owner is gonna pay for them? Because we're not going to be paying for this.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the bathrooms, I mean, that would be something that, would need further,
Because
further
that's private
investigation with
property.
the owner, correct, yeah. And whether this building would happen on the owner's timeframe, so, but it does show.
Well, but
Kinda how-
here
how
is
it
the
can be
answer
activated.
to everyone that is even watching this. We're not doing this for this owner, correct? We're doing this to beautify the town of Christiansburg and bring people to town
Right,
as a community. So we are calling it a community gathering place. I think we really, really need to make sure that we're also aware that, that growth is going to be some way accessible to everyone.
Okay, so can we, Andrew, can you give me just, very quick recap of how we arrived? I remember the beginning of this, but the details between now and then and what stage we're at, I'm just a little
Sure.
hazy on. So can you give me just a very quick recap of where we are now
sure.
and how we
So,
arrived there?
as you may recall, and this is we're gonna have to put our engineering hats on here for a second.
He's looking into the main thing that we were trying to do is, we got to fix the stormwater problem. Well, it's not even a stormwater problem, because it's the creeks that go underneath the Elkhorns and the other buildings
Right.
off of, Main Street. And the consensus that I gathered was, the town wanted to do this, was to help those business owners and move the creeks to Hickok Street and be able to build this structure, and at the same time, we were able to get some money from our, the
Appalachian Regional Commission.
Regional Commission,
Right.
because we could use, matching funds. So the application was turned in, from my understanding, to, hey, we're gonna be doing this work anyhow, can you give us some money if we were to do something? But like Andrew said, we requested 500 and we got 275, which is a pretty good amount of money.
And part of this project, so this would install a very large pipe under Hickok Street and then go down Commerce and tie in.
Is this not gonna have an attachment? Are you looking at, can you tell me which direction are you looking at this?
Sure,
Is this
so
Hickok
the
Street
Great
right
Road on
here?
Main is here, this is Hickok Street.
Great
The
Road
opposite
on Main
side.
is there?
Here's the church. the
This whole
Presbyterian church.
building is a church, right? No, that one is right there. So
this
Hickok
is
Street's
Great
up
Road on
there.
Main, yeah, right, so it runs parallel, it
Is
runs
that Main Street
perpendicular.
you're looking at right now?
So
or
this is
Hickok?
Main Street, right here,
That's Main Street.
yeah.
So the
Mountain View is
Hickok
right
Street
here.
project comes all the way to the top?
So what happens here is that the water gets picked up, in this area, and piped, and so this is there's an inlet, that will be established, and then this is a box that will then, gather the water and then pipe it into the larger pipe here, so it will be
Where
picking
is,
up the
because
water.
the creek is going this way, isn't it?
You can kind of see it through here.
Excuse me.
How come it didn't get picked up over here? There is not a sufficient pump that you can pump it from here all the way down? Right there?
It is getting picked up here on Hickok Street. so the water would get from this area of the drainage shed.
So funds used in this project were then
So they were
leveraged as
used-
matching funds for the ARC construction grant?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the matching, the match is the drainage project
Okay.
that was previously planned.
And where are we currently at timeline with all of this?
So we're hoping to get started late summer. They're finalizing some easements now. And then the final design, they'll go to 90% drawings, and then they'll put it out to bid in the spring. And then part of it will be, as part of the original project, they were going to be, even before the farmer's market structure, community gathering space grant was allocated, they're gonna be putting back, some sort of, not just asphalt. So they were always thinking paver, stamped concrete, something that would be a bit more inviting from a pedestrian standpoint. So, that is, the projects are kind of dovetailing.
Right.
And we're figuring out how to work the two projects together so that they complement each other and one happens as seamless as possible. They'll probably do two different contractors, but as seamless as possible after, one after the other.
So bids, you said, will go out in spring of 2023?
Right, so if we started in late summer, then we're looking at probably, an 8 to 9 month, construction project, so we could be looking at starting, this, in the spring to summer, just starting the arcade, the gathering place area, probably in spring to summer at this point.
But all that needs to happen after they've ripped up the street first, right?
So they'll rip up the street, and and then the big pipe will be put in, the utilities will be underground, that's part of the drainage project.
Have you put any bids for the construction of this?
No, that will happen this spring.
First of all, I understand we're getting some money, which is not a lot of money when it comes down to, but my biggest concern is that we don't want to look like we are helping one person, and I know that there is a lot of favoritism as far as like some of the items that are, maybe in my opinion, will be done here, and I want to make sure that when we do this, we do it in a way that is fair.
So there will be a committee that we pull together as a steering committee, and it would be great to have either one or both of you all involved in that steering committee for the final design of the farmers market area. We'd like to get someone from a vendor from the farmers market as well as downtown property owner.
How come
representative
that's
from
not part of
DCI.
central business? Because I thought it was part of central business in the past. We can just have add-on.
It's one of our grant obligations, to have a larger group than just central business, from Appalachian Regional Commission. And so we're pulling together. It would be, Ben from Planning Department would be on the committee, and then, also, we'd have, folks from Parks and Rec as well. And then, again, the downtown business owner, property owner, vendor, and then you all.
Can you go back to the other map where the Hickok Street, no, not that one, the one with the work is gonna be done?
Range.
Yeah, so this location over here, I know that there is a huge building off the corner of Hickok Street. But is there any room in between there? I know that's all privately owned right now. But is there any room for them to be even able to sell some of that off? And even having the possibility of just not having it off the street, on the street, but off the street a little bit, kind of like the pocket park idea. I would really like to see the other designs on College Street, park. just because that downtown park has so much to offer. And, I always think about the downtown park very similar to what Blacksburg, actually, we have a lot more land to play with in the downtown park that Blacksburg has. But if you notice, Blacksburg has the farmer's market inside of College Street and Hickox Street, which is kind of funny because the same names kind of were used in Blacksburg that are used in Christiansburg. But the way they did that was they incorporated their green spaces and they made it to be, they didn't take off main roads to do any projects. They did it with a land that was off the road. And as you can very well see, that farmer's market over there is pretty successful. I mean, not just because from the standpoint of having Virginia Tech there, but I think the way that it was designed, incorporated within the town, I think is just fabulous. I would love.
I think those details are critical, and I will say that wasn't without controversy, because that was a off-street parking lot when they converted it to a park, and there were
Well, that's why I'm
businesses
coming
that were
out
not
with this
popular
idea
about,
that you
not
can
happy
always
about that
incorporate all this
at the
and
time.
kind of attach it
Yeah.
to the park.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're losing a lot with not doing so much in the park, because that downtown park is actually a really nice location, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I mean, that was certainly, something that, and this is kind of similar to, I think, what you've, this is a little off topic, but that's,
Can't let my son through.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this was done by our designer, but I mean, similar concepts. That's where,
And there is no way to use some of the ARPA funds in here, is there? I mean, it's within the mileage and the feet, from the other property.
I mean, as far as using the,
ARPA
Appalachian,
funds,
the
well,
ARPA
no,
funds?
ARPA,
I
the
mean,
Appalachian regional money.
So using the Appalachian Regional Commission dollars for this, it is not part of the project area. So it would not be that.
But you know what, 200-something thousand is not a lot. I feel like you can still do the street, and what about doing, what's the cost of those special pavers that the print pavers that makes it look like this? I mean, that's probably right there, $275,000 for the whole street, if you were to do something like that. You know what I mean?
Right, I mean, I think we did get the grant for the structure stuff, and, to have a community gathering structure, place that would be the structure, not necessarily just to do, I don't think we could shift gears now. I mean, we would probably just have to walk away from the grant.
Well, you can do a structured thing that is not necessarily taking the space off it. You can really do the arches.
Yeah.
You can do all kinds of, I guess the idea wouldn't be, but like, there are places in South and Central America, there is a lot of like, what they do in Tennessee and Nashville and other places where they have the umbrellas, roads where they put umbrellas on the top of the, these, community gathering places. In Colombia, they have things like that. In Venezuela, they have things like that. Even in Mexico, they have things that you can have, that you can actually even cover. You can use these big tents that you can put above these streets and convert it into enclosed space if you really wanted to. But they really come into place like this. So, I mean, you don't necessarily have to close the streets, but you can close the streets when you want to have these events, and it will be an enclosed event. Plus, it can be used for attracting people and, hanging things or whatever you want to hang to the structure. So, I mean, that is a structure. Can that be considered something?
I mean, I think as we go into the final design, we can talk, I mean, those things are on the table. I mean, we're still working with the budget of $275,000.
Because I think by the time you put planters, I'm seeing, I don't like that we have beautiful flower designs in the summer, to tell you the truth. But even the containers, I just feel like we need something more attractive, And I think maybe that's something we can do through the whole downtown and Cambria areas and stuff. I know I'm just going off of ideas right now. Go ahead.
Could I suggest, there's a stormwater, beautification grant, with DEQ and the Regional Commission, and it's for the Crab Creek watershed, and so we are going to be, with the Regional Commission, I think the town's involved too, putting beautiful planters, in downtown. So there's possibility for this other money to come in to do stormwater beautification stuff in downtown and Cambria, in that entire Crab Creek watershed. So I would just suggest, before investing in new things, maybe to check in with that project and see where that's going.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Oh, well, there are a couple planters out in front of Town Hall that are the green planters that have large reservoirs of that allow for less watering during the hot months. So, we are moving towards those. I think they're more attractive than the
I don't personally feel like.
But that's the issue, is the maintenance, right, of watering it and stuff.
Yeah.
You can use things like that, I know Salem, for instance, when they had faced with the same issue, put stuff in the ground and added irrigation. But that's an expensive proposition, which unless you're destroying everything in the streetscape and replacing it is hard to do.
Well, I mean, we're in the construction process of this, so I mean, maybe.
Yeah, but you may not have the infrastructure in place, you have the water lines and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, that would be something to even look into, and even look into the grants that are given out.
I can
Maybe
say
that's something.
that project there, not going well beyond water and all that, but the whole thing costs about $2 million a block.
Was it for the whole town,
No,
for the whole downtown?
It's for the whole downtown. Well, it's not really. It's for the main streets of the downtown. If you're there, check out College Avenue the next time.
I am going to, because I really love Stellan. Like, I think they have done, when you were there, obviously, you saw it all the time, and you guys did some impressive work.
Thank you.
Impressive work. That area, is very pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very beautiful.
But I think you're doing a lot of the right things here. I mean, you're creating a memorable space, a place that is a little different from the other places. So it sticks in people's minds, and they're like, hey, that's interesting, let's go over there. I mean.
Well, and that's the thing that I want to, when I think about the Starlight, like yesterday, we had the town council meeting, thinking about even things about, we're creating things that bring people here.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously the park is a big one, but that's not necessarily different than any other place. Soccer fields are everywhere, playgrounds are everywhere. This one's gonna be nice and pretty, it's gonna be a large area, but it's not technically something that you don't see in other places, And for me, what is gonna be that we can create in the town of Christiansburg that is going to stick in people's minds forever and say, hey, you know what, the umbrella street, that's like perfect example, like the lights on the street.
Yeah.
Those are perfect examples of people wanting to go back to those places, because when they were kids, you can take them when they're kids and they will always come back to Christiansburg because, Mom, I remember those umbrellas. Now when they're growing up, they want to take their children to see that because it's cool in a sense, but it doesn't take a lot of.
No, and it can be inexpensive too. I mean, Salem's solution was to hang lights back and forth across the street, all up and down it, because you never see that somewhere else. And I'm not suggesting that we do that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it doesn't have to be something that's very expensive, but anytime you can make little moments like that stick in someone's mind, that add that character, that uniqueness, it increases, the association they have with it. So it's very good. I mean, downtowns are all, they're meant to be quirky.
Mhm.
They're meant to be interesting.
I just don't want, I like the structure that you have in here, but the thing that appears to me when we're talking about this, you can find that anywhere, you know? I mean, that structure right there, it's something that, it's not, what?
It's based on Roanoke, so it's common.
Yeah, it is common,
A
it's
certain
not,
functionality.
Right.
it's not, I
This
mean,
does have a retractable roof option, which I'm not sure if Roanoke's is that way or not.
I don't think so, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's me.
Mostly they can roll up the awning on one side
Right.
or something like that.
yeah, I mean, that's great and all, but it's not connecting the street from one side to the other side. And I would really, when I think about structure for that street that we want people to come to, I want something out of this park. You know what I mean? Like something that catches your eye and is going to be like, wow, that's cool, you know? I think maybe that's something for another meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can just think about ideas and maybe Ellie and whatever, and we can somehow, whatever, you have great ideas about the planters and how you guys did that in Salem, so I'm definitely gonna be looking into that.
This is in design, right?
Right, I mean, I think at this point, it would be a matter of being part of the design.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you know, whoever would like to be a part of it, both of you or one, probably gonna be meeting, you know, twice a month, for the first few months, and then probably during construction, probably once a month. I think, or as we get closer, to that, so, is that, would you all both wanna be part of that, or, you know?
I
at
want to
least
be
on
a
the
part
list?
of it,
Okay.
I would love that,
Okay.
you know, one of the things that stuck to my mind really quick, in Florida, there is this, and I forgot what the name is, there is this huge, it made it look like a portrait, the size of a frame of a picture. And on the top, it says something like, the best sunset in the world,
Yeah.
or something like that. It's something that, you know, my children were talking about that the
It's
other
a
day.
selfie station, basically.
Yeah, we wanna go over there, you know? You know, creating that is like you're going into another place. And I think maybe it's at the beginning of the street and both sides, you know, you see this huge thing that says, hey, something cool. And then, you know, put yourself in that, so.
Placemaking plan talk about little character, little moments, kind of things.
I don't remember exactly.
It does, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, as far as, it talks about, it talks about community gathering places and where can you have, you know, where can you have nooks of community gathering places, whether it's on Town Square or whether it's, you know, at the Great Little Park wasn't, you know, formed at that point, but that's certainly a green space, community gathering space. Little park, little parklet we're doing by the bus stop here, next to the park, next to the parking lot. You know,
Can you
another green
say that
space.
again? I couldn't hear that part.
So the green space here, and I mentioned it last time, that where the bus stop is, they're looking at doing some additional picnic tables, because it's very popular, you know, as far as a place to eat lunch for employees plus the general public.
Where's that at,
So it's between the Simmons Law Firm and the parking lot, and the town.
where
parking
we
lot.
have a water pond right now?
No, I mean, it's not a very large space, but I mean, that's where, in downtowns, where we need to take advantage of the green spaces and, you know, and program them to the point, or design them to the point where they're usable and as highly functional as, you know.
Can he have some like pretty flowers and maybe a real, you know what I mean, like pretty landscaping?
Yeah, I'll,
Can he just
I know
be
they have a
something
preliminary
more than
design.
table, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, the picnic
Yeah.
tables? Talking about that, you know, we're getting out of the subject, but I guess it's adequate to talk about this. Talking about those green spaces in the town, I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that I feel that we are missing is by the Aquatic Center. You know, I noticed the other day that we had the competitions at the Aquatic Center, and people were parking on the street, but they were not parking in the new parking lot. The new parking lot was completely empty, and all the cars were parked all on the main road. I mean, they were everywhere on this side of the building, but none of them were parked here. So there is not enough signage. And we have to make a sign or something saying, hey, park here. You know, this is town property, park here. I kind of want to encourage people to park there, because, I mean, we own it. It's part of, that's what it was.
The overflow parking?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we really need to make that a place that kind of matches the Aquatic Center too. So maybe there is something that we can incorporate, that we can bring some of the colors from the Aquatic Center. Maybe there is a blue line around the parking lot. Maybe there is something that makes it match what we are. That it doesn't look like it's private property. Can we try to see if we can come up with some ideas to even beautify that within what we have?
Right, I mean, we have a plan to make it a normal parking lot, you know, pave it and meet the town standards.
What is the time frame on that?
You know, I think it is scheduled, I'll need to check into that, you know, as far as
Can
the
you
time
please
frame.
check into that?
Sure.
And obviously more sidewalks, lines through the parking lot itself inside the Aquatic Center. Because I drove over there by the other day or whatever, you cannot see people walking. There is no marks to tell you that that's the way that you can go. And even for drivers to see that there are people walking from one side of the parking lot to the other side to get to the Aquatic Center. If you go during the nighttime through that parking lot, it's a disaster. When they have the competitions, it's a disaster. Because people are walking through all the parking lot with no direction. I think that may be part of our committee too.
I would think we would want to run that, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, the Aquatic Center, you know.
Yeah, but maybe you
really
can make
focused
the
on
comment to
events.
them
Yeah.
and see how we can do that, something like that. And I think,
And I know
thinking
they do
about
manage
beautifying
the
it.
parking per event, and I think it's the event organizers too that do the, you know, so maybe it's just some guidance. that we'll
and
probably
maybe,
do.
when
If
you
there's
get to
long-term
the parking
issues.
lot, maybe there is a way you can do some landscaping on either side to the entrance. Maybe buy one of the older signs, you know, the signs that we got through the whole town, telling you where to go, you know. A small sign, I don't know what the expense of that will be, but, you know, to match the other ones that we currently have.
So, yeah, I mean, we do have kind of trail signage that's, because you're talking about people get out of their cars and then looking for direction to the Aquatic Center without trying to cut through. Is the concern more, you know, pedestrian safety within the parking lot, or people not knowing where to go?
Well, it's both. The people don't know it's there. So it obviously needs to be utilized. You're talking about concern. I was concerned about all those cars parked on their main road.
Yeah,
you know?
no, and our police department has, you know, they do have to follow up.
Well,
with that.
but you know, they shouldn't be coming over there when we have parking for them.
Mhm.
So I think maybe working with the public works and landscaping and figure out we can
Right.
come up and do a small triangle as soon as you get to the thing, make sure that we have lines to get to the Aquatic Center, and maybe even a light to say for pedestrian walking. There you go. So, I'm sorry to get off of,
I'll bring that to Aquatic Center staff.
So we're gonna, for the community gatherings place, we're gonna give some ideas to Andrew to start looking into that.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of that is that larger group that you're referring to where it's not, like, it would be great for you to be on that committee, I think, going forward. My only other question with that is, does that put the farmer's market back there in spring of 2024? Is that correct?
Most likely.
Okay, yeah, assuming everything goes on, okay.
This is gonna be a large project,
Hmm.
and to tell you the truth, we haven't even started, and we have been talking about, for how many years has this been talked about? Probably 8?
Yeah, no, I mean, it could have been 6, yeah.
Yeah, it's
6,
been
8,
at least 6
Yeah.
years, so
The
every.
pandemic slowed it all down, right?
And then, Franklin project was a smaller project,
Mhm.
and it took months to be finished.
Right.
No, it was, yeah, the projects do take quite a bit of time, and I do think, it started with the watershed analysis, and then, and then it identified this as a project, priority project, and then it was a matter of applying for grants at that point, and so it has kind of been working through the process. Yeah, hopefully we will, we'll get started late summer, and then.
I think it would be good for this department too, since we're talking about gathering in places, talk about that bathroom downtown park. I really think we need that downtown bathroom park, and I think if it's okay with you, Casey, would you second that to be as part of the budget items for this year?
So you're saying one in downtown park and then right across the street with the new structure as well? Isn't that where there's gonna be restrooms?
No, we are not paying for this, this is private property,
But
the thing that he showed us.
But that was supposed to be
downtown-
public restrooms, right?
The downtown park, well, not if we pay them and everything else, and working with the outcomes, I cannot really tell you, it's interesting. I really feel like we have those patty boxes over there that they call it, the downtown park. And we just really, really need to, because we're gonna have that, can you show, look at what we're gonna be planning to build there. Or we hope to have the money in the future.
Yeah, this was really more conceptual. And
Yeah,
just the
but
early
you
iterations
can have
of
an
it, what
amphitheater, you can
yeah.
have anything, and whatever you have over there, you really, really need a bathroom. I have 4 children, I go to the park quite a bit. And guess what, now I go to Depot Park because it has a bathroom. And I stopped going to the downtown park all completely.
I guess my question is, if we do that, do we need including restrooms, Peacock Street?
I think
If they're gonna be right across the street
I
from each
think
other?
we really, this is not our property.
Right, but were those meant to be public restrooms?
Well, this is not showing that could have been a public-private partnership if that,
Okay.
if we end up going down that road. But just for clarification, there is not restrooms planned at this point.
On the project.
On the project, on Hickok Street.
So what we see in that drawing is just,
What
The arcade, yeah.
right, okay.
And a lot of that was, it seems
No,
like a lot of.
the committee could discuss that, and that could be something that, if the town were willing to add additional dollars, is there an opportunity to put a restroom at the end of the structure? As part of this project,
Well, I just don't see I don't see myself asking the taxpayers to come out with money to have restrooms in somebody else's big property. I think we gotta take care of our own, and if we own the downtown park, that would be where the bathrooms, I would want to have some bathrooms there.
So I guess there's not a scenario in which those restrooms are part of the ARC construction.
Well, I think we could talk about it during the final
Okay.
design, and
Yeah.
get the designer's opinion on it. There's a sewer line that runs fairly close to it.
Okay.
Is there an opportunity to?
I know
Tie
that
into it.
Showalter had said last year that if we had ARPA funds, if we got some of the money, that he will be okay seconding for the bathrooms in downtown park. Because the reality was, it was time we got the other bathrooms through the CARES Act money, correct?
Mhm.
And then when we got the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan money, it was talked that, hey, let's use some of the money, and if we get it, if we have some money, let's put it in and build a bathroom structure there. I think it was because of time frame, we couldn't have the time to even put it in there. and the company that was building them was not gonna be able to put them in time.
Right.
That
And it's
was
a
what
little more-
Randy had
It is a
said.
little more complex of a, as far as from grading and where sewer availability would be. So, I mean, I think right off the parking lot was a pretty easy no-brainer, although, you know, at Depot Park, it does limit the expansion of parking, which is not, you know, which is the downside of it. But we would need to look at it a little, I mean, I think it is gonna be a larger price tag than.
Well, we were really told it was gonna be around 80,000, which is not a lot of money. And the guys were gonna do it because I talked to Public Works, and they had said it was gonna go close to the other structure that was currently there. And the water and sewer were right there in front of,
The picnic shelter,
yeah, close to the picnic shelter, because that was the location that they were thinking about building it. It was just a timing matter the last time that it came around. But it wasn't that, you know, I didn't get the consensus that anybody was against that. It was just a time frame thing.
So it sounds like a lot of it will go back to that.
and that'll be part of the budget
Right.
discussion that you all,
Yeah.
you know, will have.
Would
Starting in
you
March.
be against having a structure, a real bathroom? This bathroom is only two toilets. It's not like you're building, you know, a huge amount of bathrooms. I mean, if you have been at the one in Depot Park or the one at Circle Park,
Right,
I mean, it's just literally two toilets
right.
and two sinks.
Yeah, no, certainly not against it, I just, you're talking about for downtown park, right?
Yeah,
Bathroom for
downtown park.
Yeah, yeah,
Because,
just,
I mean, that's literally part of central business.
right, and just in a budget work session, see where it spits out, so.
Cost-wise, you will tend to need to either heat stuff like that or shut it down and winterize it in cold. Keep that in mind this year.
Yeah, they have done a really good job with the other ones too, so.
It's nice when they're heated because they can be open all year. Right.
They have a little heater thing that was installed, so they are open today,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, good.
And they have, I guess, the first one that the town ever built was the one at the skate park. And then, right? And then they built the one in Circle Park and then one in Depot Park last year.
I'm not sure if we built the one at the skate park, I think it was,
No, the skate park, it has been there for a while.
yeah, it was.
But the ones that were built last
We
year
bought it from a local, I think we actually might have bought that. one
from local
from
people.
Town of Blacksburg, yeah, when they got rid of bathrooms at a park.
But I think the bathrooms on Depot Park and Circle Park those parks are full now. People come all the time now. And I think, you know, having those parks grows, you know, those photo parties.
Alright, so, I'm just looking at the clock. Do you wanna move on to other business at this point?
I would really like to do public comments first, if that's okay.
Sure. Well, yeah, I know Ellie would like to give an update, and Chris might as well, so that's absolutely.
A couple of DCI updates. One that I wanted to share with everyone so that you can circulate widely among businesses is on March 10th. The Roanoke Regional SBDC is hosting an event. It's going to be amazing for our businesses. It's called Event-tacular. Businesses, town, and events partnering for profit. Local businesses are a mainstay of towns across, local events are a mainstay of towns across the country, especially now, as we coax customers to come out and reaccustom them to enjoying our downtowns and community gathering spaces and shopping destinations. So on March 10th at 2 p.m., Mark Wilson from the Virginia and Merchant Program will do a webinar talking to businesses about their best ways to maximize profits, effective ways to work together, what to do before, during, and after the event, best practices, and success stories from other towns. So I think this is going to be great for a lot of reasons. We have a lot of events that are being hosted downtown, and we haven't always gotten the business engagement that we want, so giving them a way to participate. I know that an economic development strategy for the town is to bring people for sporting events. That's another event that I think our businesses could capitalize on to improve that economic impact. And then, of course, events at the aquatic, or the the rec center as well. So DCI is going to like co-host the event, they're gonna put our name on it so that we can, share it. And so we'll have like a Facebook event and stuff, but it's open to everyone, you just have to register, so.
So
How can we get the link? Can you share it with us and then we can pass it along?
Yeah, I can, what's the best way to do that, Andrew, to get that, or?
You can send us an email, you got all the email addresses, and
Yep.
then we can probably even pass it to the other council members and stuff too.
webinar at 2:00, is that right?
Yeah, 2:00 on March 10th. Yeah, I think that could also help us. We'll learn a lot about how to engage businesses in these events, because really, you know, my full-time job, I'm an economic impact person, and so that's the way that you increase economic impact, is if you can draw people to these events and then convince them this is a cool enough place to stay and spend their money. So the more we can connect events to the businesses, the bigger the economic impact will be of these things that we're investing the town's money into. And then the second thing is we are looking at a date for Food Truck Rodeo. We usually have it end of September, beginning of October, but we were told that the Rock and Main Street event will be held at the beginning of October. So we're looking at October 29th. And I'm not sure what the status of getting with Rachel and everything about that date is.
You know,
Yeah,
can I
just
make
as early as
a,
you can get up with her, that would be great.
Well, that was, one of my questions was, how far, do they have the whole, how far out have they planned their event schedule?
But, I mean, I think they have, you know, through the fall.
Okay.
You know,
So all their dates are final through the fall?
yeah.
Okay.
Ellie, will it be possible, and I don't know how to put it out there, but is that a way that when you guys are planning to have this event, that maybe you do a post? And it can even be just as simple as putting on that Everything Christiansburg page to say, hey, we're planning for this day, will this have any conflicts with other businesses or any other events in the town, please let us know. I think if you put that out there, and if you were going to have a conflict with another business, it may be a way to say, hey, we put this out there, and then we really try to reach out, and then, you know, we cannot read people's, you know, we cannot go and check on everybody's schedule. But maybe that's a way that you can maybe get people to engage with the date, coordination.
Yep, we can certainly put that out. We generally check with the other regional organizations that do events to make sure they don't conflict, like whatever the fall event is with the partnership, that's Rodeo or something.
Yeah, but you're
and then
never
we
going
check-
to.
But the fall is tricky, I'm just, because of the dates, we could put it out into the public, but the challenge is there's like literally only 2 dates that work because of Virginia Tech football, because DCI can't host events when we have a Virginia Tech football game because the police, are used over there, even though for whatever reason, that's not the case for town-sponsored events, but that's a whole different story. So there's really only a limited number of days that we can do, so I could put it out into the community, but if they say October 29th doesn't work, then we won't be able to have a food truck rodeo because there's no other date. So I totally understand wanting to engage the community and picking a date, but I just don't think we can because we have to keep track of the town schedule, Virginia Tech football schedule, and then like Blacksburg event.
And maybe
schedule.
that's something, you know, a lot of the times is letting people know what you're doing. And maybe that's something you put out there, you know, we have this, and because of this, I mean, what you said today is not, this meeting is not gonna be watched by the rest of the town. But I think a lot of it is how you present it to people, and I think if you put something out there to say, hey, you know, we're thinking about this 2 days, are there any businesses that have a comment about this? Maybe you can just call them and say, hey, the reason why we're doing this or whatever, is there any way that we can help each other? Maybe you wanna have a truck over here with your food, you know, I don't know, just out of curiosity.
Yes, no, we're definitely looking for ways to engage businesses, and we know we haven't. Yes, I'm open to suggestions for how else we can, engage people in participating in Food Truck Rodeo. We're already thinking if we don't get enough food trucks, we could expand to other types of food businesses, we're not really sure. Our goal is to just really bring people downtown, and we haven't had Food Truck Rodeo in a couple of years, so, yeah, that's kind of our focus.
And I think reaching out to those restaurant business owners from the town of Christiansburg will be the best thing to do too. Even though they may say no, but you can always say, hey, you can have a tent, you know, you can have food downtown, bring it out, I don't know.
Yep, we'll send a direct, message to all of our downtown business owners, letting them know about the date and asking them to participate in the event on the tenth, and then maybe we can pull together a business group to brainstorm how they can participate.
Well, but
And
do
then
you
we can
think that
also, we can also put something out for the wider Christiansburg community and invite other food businesses.
Yeah.
If we decide we might need to make that decision in like April, when we determine if we have enough trucks or not, but, yeah, I think, and any channels that we can use that you guys have to get the word out, we consider ourselves good partners with the town, so we wanna partner on this too.
Awesome. Mr. Walsh?
I mean, I just came up last meeting, I think, here, and I'm welcome aboard the two new members. You know, about this, it's been floated before, you know, I heard it, the old idea of telling property owners in the downtown, well, you're not gonna be able to rent to the lawyers that you've been renting to for years, give you steady income, no, we're gonna force you to rent to some startup that may be dead in 60 days because of some downtown revitalization project that people have. You know, if it were me and I were a business owner, I would probably fight you on it, one. And in the other case, if I had to, I just would, leave my property blank. I believe there's one person downtown that likes the town enough that he already does that. So, now,
Is there a pushback in particular that you're referring to?
I think you might have misunderstood my comment last week that we can't do that.
well, I mean, it's been brought up several times. I mean, I know Andrew brought it up at one point, at the last.
I don't think I did, but, I mean, cause I mean, I do have
Rewriting
experience with
an
that
ordinance
before.
to say that
Yeah.
if you own property downtown on the ground floor, I mean, it
Yeah.
came up, Andrew, you talked about it.
There's certainly,
Actually, I think I brought that up.
yeah, and there's certainly, you know, processes that other communities have done.
Yeah, the
And
idea that-
I think they would have to be explored with pros and
But
cons.
the idea that I believe Ellie was talking
Yeah.
about, that sounded good on paper, was about a pop-up restaurant. Now,
Right, and you get incentives from
I
the
remember
government
when
to help the
Councilman-
property owners to incentivize them to do
Well,
that, so my
that's-
suggestion
that's
is
gonna-
instead
I
of
think
being
that's gonna be a
punitive,
problem,
you're
though,
incentivizing them.
because when Councilman Jenkins was on the farmer's market committee, when he was employed by the town, I remember our local community health, Pam Ray.
Dr. Ray, yeah.
Yes. Just to do a chili cook-off between the fire department and the police department, somebody at rescue. The regulations that have to go along with all that. Now, a possible solution that I think you have a good idea, Ellie, but
Right.
surprise, but I know this came out, I believe it was a farmer's market meeting as well back in the day. There's that community kitchen thing in Blacksburg, they gave a big, long presentation. I mean, they have all,
Some present
that,
work.
you can, utilize them,
Mm-hmm.
and then all you have to worry about is keeping the food temperature on site instead of all the other crap that Pam was talking about that goes along with,
Right.
you know, a food truck, a restaurant. I mean, 'cause you're talking about a restaurant. Well, look at the restaurant reports. I mean, some of the restaurants that have been in business for 20 years here, every time they go to get inspected, it's like dust all over everything. If it's only gonna be used you're gonna run into that problem. I mean, you're gonna have to have a super,
And you are seeing that more of these ghost kitchens, as they call it, where,
Yeah.
you know, so they
But
take
I was
advantage
bringing
of the
up
off hours.
that thing, I think it's in Blacksburg, that would be perfect. If they store the food, you can prepare the food there, and then when you get it to your pop-up restaurant, which like I said, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Right.
We have a food
Right
truck
there,
here
you've
in
got,
town.
all you have to do then is, you have to have a warmer,
Yeah.
keep it up to temperature for a small amount of time.
Right.
And I believe that weren't they a like I said, it's probably, 5-6 years since they gave that presentation.
I think they are, what is it, what's the kitchen called?
Oh,
Is it
Millstone,
Kitchen?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've done a lot of meals for folks throughout the pandemic as well, and.
Right, okay.
But
They
But they
are,
got money too from,
they are nonprofit?
There's folks that, you know, that,
you want them free.
that do, you know, salsa and different spreads and dips, and that's where they manufacture.
Okay.
I mean, and there's also just, you know, we have a food truck that's based here in town, and then their commissary is at the Corporate Research Center, that they use Wikipedia, and then, but they, you know, so that works, you know, if you can take advantage of those.
I mean, that was just something I just
Yeah,
thought
that would
maybe,
be great.
because I remember the thing from Pam, I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, it's chilly.
Well, we did, yeah.
I remember that.
Well, the chili cook-off, yeah.
We never,
Yeah.
well, the pandemic put it to bed,
Right.
But there were so many regulations that, if I remember, they were just like,
there were a number of parties.
how could we ever accomplish it, to, you know,
Right.
for chili?
Right. That's right, yeah.
Beans, meat, potatoes.
Right. That's good, that's a good point.
I think under do you have anything else? Don't have anybody else. I think under other businesses, I wanted to mention the fact that I really, really like to have something that really attracts us, makes us special, and that was one of those things. What about marathon? What is it involved? Can we get the Recs department involved with this? Can we have maybe a tricycle race for kids? Or maybe, I don't know, something that's cool that nobody else does around here, you know? I know that in Roanoke, they have that marathon for I always refer it to the turkey thing. I don't even know what's called.
Drumstick dash.
Yeah, there you go, but it's always a turkey thing that comes to my mind.
Well, they have the Blue Ridge Marathon and half marathon.
Well, I mean, it's huge, you know, and I think it brings people from, my brothers came from New Jersey for that thing. 'Cause
Didn't Henry who brought up a foot race in
Yeah.
Christiansburg years ago? We started to look into it.
We looked at different patterns around, you know, and just looked at the cost that it would take to be able to barricade it was a safety issue that since we do have the Huckleberry Trail, which you can do 5Ks on, you know, that's what we opted to just stick with that, in the past years, but it has been brought up, and not that it can't be
I
brought
mean,
up
can you
again.
just do a shore race thing, you
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, get all the kids in the community involved, you know, you do it by ages, you do 50s to 90 years old, or 50 to 70s, 70s to 90s, I mean, it doesn't have to be a long distance thing, it doesn't have to be the cross-country thing, it can be the short distance things, where families can do it together, and it can be a thing of 2 blocks, you know? I mean, it can be the shortest thing.
I also had an idea that you could get the local gyms and do like an obstacle course, like a downtown obstacle course downtown, where you would like have different,
Yeah.
and then like all the gyms would be involved. and
No,
they
that's
would
fabulous.
Run people around.
I
That'd be
mean,
new, right?
yes, I mean, that sounds to me like a perfect thing. How can we get the rest of the community involved in something like this, you know? I mean, I know that I grew up doing things like that were probably not the safety things, but I always look at this hill over here. I'm fascinated with this hill. I'm like, you know what things we did in
Oh,
hills
Pepper
down
Street.
there? Yeah, the one over here,
Yeah.
Pepper Street. It's like, it's perfect for just racing cars, you know, like.
Blacksburg has the Draper Mile where they run down Draper Street. So that's-
Really?
Yeah, so there's fun little unique, community-friendly events.
We have a Pepper Street. You know, I don't
I
know.
love Pepper
Pepper
Street.
The hot pepper.
Yeah.
Hot pepper.
There what?
Right, right.
Hot pepper.
Yeah.
Hot pepper is
Half
called?
mile. No, we're just
It's,
brainstorming.
yeah. I like the creativity though. I think that's, that's how we, especially when we spread the wealth around a lot of places and we think about these ideas, I think that can go a long distance. And all three, you brought up fantastic ideas to that end. So that's what we need to start doing more of, I think.
And I think maybe we gotta get Brian Epperly and Marty Gordon, and maybe that girl,
Yeah.
Rachel, involved in this, that we wanna see something downtown that is short. I am not looking for a whole town, you know, cross-country thing or whatever. I'm not interested in that. The Huckleberry can do that very well. But I do think that a short distance thing will be fabulous. Can you imagine seeing, now picture this, Hickok Street has something that is attractive. You have this big huge things that make it look like, you know, you're coming to this gray world, like the chocolate factory thing, you know, like, once you pass the gates, it's like, wow, you know, like, this cool thing, you know? And then you're doing that on that street where you have a race, it can be a one black thing for, and you know, a black thing wouldn't be a bad thing, you know? You take a street to do that, and then everybody's sharing at the grandpa or the grandmother, or, you know, the kids, or maybe you do a race between the kids and the grandpas, I don't know. I just think it's cool.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, just other, we just realized, we just established March 20th as the date for the storyboard unveiling, on the town square. It's Sunday, March 20th at 3 o'clock. And I believe the mayor will speak at that event, as well as a couple other keynote speakers, and we'll unveil those. The signs actually went in the ground today.
I saw that.
Yeah, and, we'll cover them up and do an unveiling and ceremony on the 20th.